Welcome to the Wealth by Choice podcast. My name is Valerie Shirah, and I'm a stay-at-home mom who turned entrepreneur. Each week, we bring you stories and wisdom from individuals who have broken the code to generating wealth. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Let's get started. Welcome to the Wealth by Choice podcast. Today I have with me Francesca Apostolou. She is from Westchester County, New York, where she lives with her and her husband and two beautiful children. Francesca has been a school teacher for 24 years. She and her husband Jim realized the power of real estate after purchasing their first home, rehabbing and leveraging it to acquire their first investment property. Francesca is currently partnered in 250 units and actively looking to acquire properties in the Southeast. Her goal is to educate and help others learn how they can create passive income through real estate investing. She enjoys spending time with her family, traveling, the beach, and lending a helping hand. Francesca, welcome. I'm super excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Valerie. I'm excited to be here.
So Francesca and I met, it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago, I think, when we both joined a real estate program together. And we got to watch them over the past couple years, and they've just really taken off, especially in the real estate world. And it's been really exciting. So Francesca, I really wanted to get you on the show because I feel like you have a good story. You have a lot of backgrounds that successful people go through, a lot of the struggle. You have your W-2 job, but yet you're still trying to do stuff differently and become successful and build wealth. So could we start by having you tell me just a little bit more about your background and kind of where all this got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a mother of 2 children, like you said, and I'm a wife. I'm also a teacher. So, being a teacher for 24 years, you get into a mindset of, we work for our pension and our 403B. And, one day we think we're going to just retire and live on that. And in reality, when we take a look at what's going on around us with inflation and, the cost of living, it's never enough. So, I found that I really needed to figure out a different way to create a better life for myself and for my children. But before I get into more of that, I want to really talk about there were 2 pivoting moments in my life that really I had aha moments, and one of them was a time of reflection. A time of reflection was back in 2018. I had some health issues and I had to have surgery. And so I had surgery, and 4 weeks into my recovery, I had to go. I was back in the hospital, and because I had complications, and lo and behold, I had to have another surgery. And so when you're sitting there, in a hospital room alone, you have a lot of time to think, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, there is so much opportunity for you when you're on the outside world. There's so much freedom and opportunity that you have compared to when you're stuck behind 4 walls in a hospital room. So I had an awakening. And that awakening wasn't just, it was the freedom, but it was also a little fear set in too, because I'm a teacher and I only had so many sick days. And I remember thinking like, okay, I had a lot of time for my first surgery, but now I'm having another one, and how long is it going to take me to get better? So instead of thinking about getting better, I was thinking about how am I going to make ends meet if my sick days run out? So that was an awakening that I had no control and I had to rely on my job. And so that was one pivoting moment for me, that I really needed to learn how to take control of my life and my future. And then that next pivoting moment kind of falls into what I said at first was, again, as teachers, we always think about our retirement, and it's going to be those golden years of our pension, our 403B. But in reality, is it really? Because a lot of times, I've seen firsthand that that hasn't been the case for some people. Like they try to find other
Mm-hmm.
jobs. Maybe they live in a little bit of scarcity. They try to, reduce their finances, reduce their expenses rather. And it's just like, I didn't want to live that way. I wanted to be able to still live a full life, even when that time does come. I mean, I don't think I ever see myself completely retiring, but when that time did come, I wanted to be able to continue to live a full life. Um, but I also, as a mother, I also felt like I needed to teach my kids a different way too. That yes, you can get a job. Yes, you can go to work, make money. But what are you going to do with it? Like, how are you going to create more income for yourself and not have to just rely on a job where you can actually rely on yourself and be in control? Because I found doing what I'm doing now, it is such a freeing feeling going to work. I actually enjoy going to work. I actually don't feel like I'm relying on it as much as
Mm-hmm.
I did before because I'm building my passive income and through real estate. And I realized that there is a way to have control, and that control was in real estate.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Like just those two mindset shifts right there, I could see would just completely transform your life. That's amazing. Looking back, okay, so where you were in the hospital,
Mhm.
kind of scared, you're using your sick days. That's a pretty scary place to be. We've been in similar situations where you feel like you think you've got it all together. This is the normal American life. You've got it made. And then all of a sudden something rocks your boat. And it's just like, okay, wait a minute. I'm actually depending on my job way more than I realized. And what happens if, you run out of sick days or if you lose your job or something like that? So that's an amazing mindset shift that you had right there. And I don't think people realize until something like that happens,
Mhm.
what kind of a vulnerable position they're in, as far as relying completely on one W-2
Mhm.
income.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And even though my husband and I both did work, you have two children, and then you also start to live a different lifestyle too when you have two incomes that you want to, you need to continue to have pay for those expenses. So how else would you do that if you did, right, lose a job, or if you did, get, God forbid, get ill and not be able to go back to work. So we
Sure.
found freedom in being able to have choices.
Hmm. And I love, okay, so I know part of the story. I know kind of what's coming. You get into real estate. But for those who don't know much about real estate, or for those who are interested in real estate, there's a lot of other options. It's just creating another source of income
Mhm.
so that you're not completely strapped on your W-2, because things do happen. And then also, like you just talked about your second mindset shift, retirement. It's not how it's cracked up to be. It's not what it used to be. Staying with one job for the rest of your life and having an excellent pension. It's almost not like, it just doesn't exist as commonly as it used to. And even then, that's you're waiting until what, 65 to really start living, and by then you're afraid of running out of money, and so now you really have to skimp by and try and cut costs and get through with the bare necessities, because you don't want to run out of money. So your second mindset shift, that's a big deal. How did Jim feel in all of this? As you felt those mindset shifts, did he kind of go along with you, or was he kind of surprised? How did he take all of this?
Yeah, it was like gradual, right? So like all these things that
Mm-hmm.
happen overnight, it was like these little moments that happened in our life that just one day it just all came. I mean, maybe 1 year or so, it just all came together,
Sure.
and so we were both just educating ourselves. I would hear something that a light bulb would go off, and I would share it with him, and so it was like we were on this journey together, and so. Uh, yeah, at first he was always on board with whatever I was thinking and whatever I wanted to do, but it was just a gradual shift. So we both
Sure.
grew in it together. So, but yeah, he's definitely a huge supporter in all of
Mm-hmm.
this.
And that's a big deal, having your spouse support these decisions or these mindset shifts, that's really a big thing. So why did you choose real estate? What made you and Jim decide to pursue real estate?
Well, there was one thing that we realized that was we could count on and that was giving us cash flow. We had our own, property where we were renting and we were getting a monthly cash flow from. So it was like, and we weren't giving up our time to do that. It was
Mm-hmm.
coming, it was happening while we were sleeping. We were getting paid. So we wanted to know like how can we do this larger and multiply it? And so
Okay.
it's not something that, I felt I knew, I only knew residential. I didn't know, larger multifamily and how to purchase it. So I had to do, and do some educating and some due diligence on how to do this. And so that's when we took action and we actually, listened to podcasts and all that, but it wasn't enough. And we hired a mentor and coaches. So that really is what excelled our place in real estate and where we are today.
Mm-hmm. I recently heard somebody talking about investing in yourself and how high the return on investment, the ROI, is. And it's really interesting because we think about putting our money into investments, whether the stock market or retirement funds, IRA, real estate, whatever. But really, one of the highest returns on investment is investing in yourself. And whether that's through hiring a mentor, buying a course so that you are able to, pursue a side hustle or something like that, or even, furthering your education that you're going to use and, be able to use to get yourself another stream of income. And that's something that is very common among people who are high achievers or who are doing really well, is they have invested pretty heavily into themselves. Would you feel the same way?
Oh yeah, I mean because it definitely shortens your learning curve, and you could try to do those things on your own, but they could be very costly mistakes that you make. So
Mm-hmm.
investing in myself, not only did it help us to achieve and shorten our learning curve and to achieve what we're doing today, but it also helped us build a network of others that are doing it and who we could tap into when we do end up having a question. You don't feel alone. You feel like there's power in numbers, right? So they say proximity
Mm-hmm.
is power, and and it wasn't just an education and learning. It was also a network that we've created.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Can you tell me a little bit about how the real estate actually fits into your financial structure? Are you using that for your retirement down the road? Are you using that money to live on? What does that look like in the long run? Are you refinancing your money out? Maybe if somebody who doesn't really understand the long-term process, what does that look like for you and Jim?
Yeah, so we're doing a couple of things. That's the beauty of it, that you're able to kind of figure out where you have control, right? You want where you want to put
Mm-hmm.
that money. It's all up to you. So right now, our main focus is we have two children in college. So our main focus is to get them through college, to help them, so they're on their way. So that's our main focus right now. But in the future, it's just to be able to when we do end up, if you want to call it retire, I'm going to put that in quotes for those that are listening, because we're not really going to just retire, but it's to live like a better lifestyle also when
Mm-hmm.
we do end up getting to those golden years, to not only for ourselves, but also to um, for with our children too, and then eventually with our grandchildren. So we're thinking in decades, that we want to be able to create, that legacy for them as well. um, so as far as I want to get into maybe some more of the bolts and stuff about real estate with cash out refi. And for those of you that don't know what that is an amazing tool in real estate, and that's how you can recycle your money to continue to work for you in different deals. And just recently, um, we got into we got into a property, a JV deal back in 2021, and just last year we cashed out refi a little over 50% of it. So which means you get a little bit more. We got a little bit more than 50% of the capital we invested in that deal. which is beautiful because now we're able to take that capital and we're able to place it somewhere else. And guess what? It's still working for us in that other deal. So not only is it paying us in this deal, which we first got in 2021, but we can take it and now put it into the next deal, which we're actually in contract with, in 2023. So that's the beauty of cash out refi, and it becomes a snowball effect because um, now we're in another property that we purchased last year that, of course, but this is all with education, that you learn how to buy right. And because we were able to buy it right and finance right, and there's all those components that go in there and manage it right, we're cash going to most likely in probably the summer or so cash out refi that, and it looks like we could be getting 90% of our capital back, and there goes that snowball effect of cash out refi. Your money's working for you in one property, and now you can put it in another one, and another property's cash out refi. So it's a beautiful vehicle to be in. So yes,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And like what you had mentioned, like, as far as being able to live better and expand your living as you get older, that's exciting because like I mentioned earlier, usually your living gets more crunched and conservative the older you get because you don't want to run out of money. But with this model and using real estate or, some type of investment like that, as your money builds and grows and compounds, you're able to live better and better lives and be able to give and like you said, do things that you wanted to do. And in the beginning, you definitely make sacrifices. And so but it's exciting to know that as you keep going and your money keeps working harder and compounding that, it just gets better and better. That's really exciting.
absolutely.
Now, you're a teacher. How I know from talking to you different times, you're incorporating some of this into what you teach your kids and some of the either classes in school. I'm not sure exactly. Tell me a little bit about that. That's so interesting because that's something that's really lacking in our schools and just as a whole, that kids learning about investing and learning about just what it takes to generate wealth. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what you're involved in?
Yeah, so last year we there was a opportunity for after school clubs. So I thought to myself, I love I love finance and real estate, and why not be able to teach children financial education? And so I started a finance and entrepreneurship club at my school. And so I had some children come in after school and learn about that. And so, we learned about the importance of, you know, making money, but also learning how to save your money and what do you do with it when you save it, and learning how to invest your money too. But it's teaching children about financial responsibility because I think a lot of society is teaching us that we could have everything yesterday, and just put it on your credit card. Don't worry about it. That's what people think. They just put everything on their credit card, but they don't realize that that credit card bill is going to come in, and if they have to pay it. It's not
Right.
it's not like free money because that's what kids think
Mm-hmm.
that they think and I hear my students tell me like, oh, I got a credit card, and I said, you did? And they said yes, and I said, are you sure it's not like a gift card? So they think right away just by seeing maybe that Visa gift card that it's a credit card, and they think it's free money, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not free money. And so it's
Right.
teaching them about responsibility, like living within your means, and but make money, but make sure you save a percentage of that, because that percentage either
Right.
needs to go towards an investment and and an emergency fund. So it's about teaching that, because that's not taught in our schools at all. We teach our
Mm-hmm.
kids to um, go to college and take out loans, that they will just give you 100, $200,000, $300,000 loans. But then how do you pay for it? So, and is it so?
Mm-hmm.
So we can go on about this, um, but I just feel like it's something that's lacking, and it needs to be taught at a younger age so you can make a better decision when that time does come, when you are thinking about going to college, and taking on all that debt. And it's really important because I don't think we think about those things.
That's exciting. I love that you're doing that. And I love that you have a passion for that because it's a scary thing thinking about what is being taught to the kids, or maybe just the lack of what is being taught, and maybe what they think as far as their financials, or like what you said about credit cards, gift cards. I have kids, and I know we've talked a little bit about books, that are geared toward kids. Are there any specific ones that you like that are kid related? I'll talk about other books a little later, but
Oh, yeah.
I think we've talked about some of them.
Yeah, as far as financial education, I mean, I have to say I have two favorites, and Julia Barbaro um, wrote two of them, and one of them is The Cannolis Exploded, and my students love that book. If I read any book in school, like I have so many books, but that one, there is discussion around it. It's actionable. They are really thinking, and it's just they love it. And there's so much
Hmm.
information in there about responsibility, and it's fun. It's a fun, colorful book. But that's one of my favorite. And then her next one, which is why is it passing me right now? She has the cannolis exploded, and then she has a gelato blast. That's another great one because it shows that we as individuals we had different character traits, right? We had, and in the story, there's pity party pig. Some of us can have pity for ourselves. There's responsible rhino. Someone's always doing the right thing. There's creative caterpillar, and what was the other one? Creative caterpillar, responsible rhino. The characters are just amazing. And so it really encompasses how we can be all of them, right?
Hmm.
But we all want to be the responsible one. And we do, we want to, but sometimes we fall into that pity party. Um, and what I find is that those books are lacking in this classrooms. And that it's those
Yes.
two books that are like two of my favorite, and my children love it. They love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. My kids have them as well, and they love them. I think a couple other ones that my kids really like are Five Habits of Highly Successful Kids. That's another fantastic one that just goes into different characters and qualities of what it takes to be highly successful. And then I think the other one that they really like is the Robert Kiyosaki has a kids book, and it's actually I have the audio book, which is actually has sound effects and everything with it. They love that as well.
Oh,
So
I
those
have
are
to look
some
into
great
that
books
one.
for
I don't have
kids.
that one.
Yeah, the audiobook it's really good. It has sound effects and all the fun stuff, and then the actual book is cartoon style, so you get to kind of look at it like a comic strip, kind of like comic strips.
Okay. All right.
But so going back to the kind of real estate and kind of your lifestyle, do you have any specific habits that you feel like have really helped you become successful and kind of push through? Because that's not easy. Working both you and your husband working full time, raising kids, investing in real estate, doing all those things. Are there any habits that stick out to you?
Well, I mean, each day, I start my day with a grateful heart. Um, I dive into my devotionals. I get into prayer, and that's what gets me through the day, because that's how I start each day. And it's been the last couple of years. Obviously, it really happened after my awakening that their life is so beautiful and there's so much to be grateful for. And so I'm grateful every day to just be you
Mm-hmm.
know um, be
Mm-hmm.
able to breathe and be able to live a full life. So that's one thing that has brought me more of I have to say, of an understanding, or my mind opens up more because I'm not so focused in on the negative. I'm more focused in on the positive. So it's more of I have to say, my spirituality that really has brought me to the successes that I have today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would have to agree with that too. It just gives you the strength and it gives you the encouragement knowing that, you're not alone.
Hmm.
And a grateful heart, it means everything. I mean, how can you have a bad day when you're grateful? Yeah, you can have bad days, but it puts a different perspective on everything. So I love that. Um, Is there anything specific you would tell somebody who's just starting out, who's not quite sure what to do to get going, but they know that they need to change or expand, either get another stream of income? What would you say to somebody who's just starting out?
Well, if you're just starting out, I would just say, you really need to educate and surround yourself with others that are doing it. Get out
Mm,
to, whether it's on Zoom to a meetup, um, there's so many golden nuggets you will get just being in the room with the people that are doing it and that,
hmm
you success leaves clues. So if you see someone is successful in something and someone's, creating a nice life for themselves, then you know what? Try to get into that room with that person, whether it's on Zoom or in an in-person meetup, because that's where you're going to learn. You're going to learn by being around people, by educating yourself, and you know what? And by taking action, because I
hmm
could educate myself all I want, but if I didn't take action, we wouldn't be here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that makes me think of the richest man in Babylon. Kind of being with, if you want to um, invest your money in real estate, get around real estate people. If you're wanting to do a side hustle and you have a specific niche, get into the room with people who are like that.
Yes,
Same with marriage. You want a happy marriage? Study people who have happy marriages. What are they
yes,
doing? If you want to have a happy home and kids that are a certain way, study people who have done that before you, and it can really just cut down the time it takes to achieve that.
100%.
Um, let's talk just for a minute about other books, maybe not necessarily geared towards kids. Do you have any specific ones that have really helped you?
Yeah, I think one that really gave me a paradigm shift was Killing Sacred Cows. That really,
Ah,
yeah, that really gave me a light bulb went off. Like, what am I doing? So that was definitely one that really helped me take action in different ways and to look at things differently. So
mm-hmm.
I have to say that one. And another one, I've had it for a long time and I never picked it up. I don't know why. Um, and I'm reading it now, and it's called The Secret. Pretty, pretty interesting on the power of the mind. And I think that that's another great, great book to read.
Awesome. Yeah, I know I've read the Killing Sacred Cows, and I actually listened to it the one time when I was painting and doing a side job a couple years ago. And I kept rewinding it, and I'd listen to part of it again, and then I'd listen some more and rewind it. It just had a lot of sacred cows to kill in the book. It just basically talking about all the money things that we believe that are just not true. And it
Mm-hmm.
was a fantastic book.
Yes.
Are there any common things that you think people are doing that stops them from becoming successful? A lot of times we study what people are doing, but sometimes we don't see the things that are actually stopping us. Is there anything that comes to mind that you think that really holds people back?
Yeah, I think it's fear. I think that we
Mm,
really get into our head. I think that we talk ourselves out of things. So I think fear is definitely one of them. But I think another one is being consistent, like consistently moving towards your goal. It doesn't have to be huge steps, but even taking
mm-hmm.
small steps towards the goal and being consistent. I think that that's another thing that people, when they do fall behind, it's because they're not being consistent. And
Yeah.
so, if I have to give any advice, just try to get out of your head. Don't let that fear take over you, and take steps. Take steps needed to get to that goal that you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Well, as we're kind of coming to the end of our half hour, tell me a little bit about the meetup that you host. I know that you host a real estate meetup. And from what I've heard, I haven't been there because I don't live by you because it's an in-person meetup. But from what I've heard, it's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so a little over a year ago, we started our first, it's called Movers and Shakers Multifamily Network in Westchester County. We started our first one, and each meetup, we have a guest speaker. We've had people from firemen who are in real estate to mindset. We just had Neil Shope who did mindset. and it was on fear because, it's a new year and we have new goals. So it was to get people energized on their goals and to get out of their comfort zone, because that's where we lay sometimes. And to get out of it, we have to get out of fear. So we have some guest speakers that come, and they're just the energy. I love going to them because I get energy from the people in the room. It just it gives me momentum. It continues my momentum rather, and it just gets me energized, and I love it. I love surrounding myself with like-minded people. And so I'm a little selfish as to why I do it. I think I do it to make myself feel, more energy, because sometimes we fall into our careers and stuff, and we kind of get out of the momentum. And so in order to keep it going, I love having, the meetup to do that.
Well, there's definitely something powerful about being around people who are doing what you do. That's not something to take lightly. I mean, that's really what, like you're saying, fuels your fire and gives you focus, helps you to keep persevering, because it's not always easy. There's ups and downs, and being able to talk to people who've been through the same things that you have or are currently going through them, that's a really awesome thing you've got going on there.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, last question is, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I am at Francesca at Niveaux, Niveau, partners.com, or you can visit our website, niveaupartners.com. And I'm also on Instagram, Francesca Apostolou, LinkedIn, Francesca Apostolou, and so you could reach me in any of those places.
All right. Well, I'll have those in the show notes. And Francesca, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic to hear your story.
Thank you for having me, Valerie.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took the time to invest in yourself and to learn with me today. If you're interested in joining a group of like-minded people, I want to personally invite you to our free networking group where you can make connections and build relationships with people who are working together to generate wealth. Just click the link that is included in the show notes, and I hope to see you there.